Have you ever noticed how some people start losing interest the moment you begin believing in yourself? When you were uncertain, they were always there, offering help, sharing opinions, pretending to care. But once you find your voice, their energy shifts. They go silent, distant, maybe even sarcastic. It's not your confidence that bothers them. It's the mirror it holds up to their insecurity. It's like a lamp in a dim room. Everyone loves its light until it becomes bright enough to show the cracks in the walls. Or think of a bird they were happy to feed, as long as it stayed in the cage. The moment it spreads its wings, they call it ungrateful for wanting to fly. That's what happens when you stop living by their approval. They mistake your freedom for arrogance. The truth is, not everyone wants to see you strong. Some people thrive when you doubt yourself because your uncertainty keeps them comfortable. But the moment you stop apologizing for your growth, you remove their control. That's when they pull back. Not because you've changed, but because they can't influence who you're becoming. So how do you protect your self-belief when the world quietly tries to chip away at it? Stay until the end, because once you understand how they do it, you'll never let anyone shake your confidence again. Let's get started. Number 1. They compliment you with hidden insults. Let's talk about one of the most brutal truths in human interaction. Someone is pretending to like you while secretly hoping you fail. They won't say it outright. They'll smile, laugh, and act supportive. But listen closely. Their compliments always carry a sting. Their praise isn't pure, it's poisoned. It sounds like, "You're doing great for someone like you." Or, "Wow, I didn't expect you to pull that off." It's the kind of flattery that feels wrong, even though the words sound kind. Deep down, you know it's not encouragement. It's a disguised insult. Here's the truth. People who give backhanded compliments aren't celebrating you. They're controlling the narrative. Their goal isn't to uplift you, it's to remind you of your place. They want you to feel small, even in your moments of triumph. It's their way of saying, "Don't forget, you're not really better than me." And the more you achieve, the more subtle their words become, because they can't attack you openly. That would expose their envy. So they do it quietly, through the kind of compliments that make you question whether you should feel proud or embarrassed. And this is where Stoic wisdom cuts through the illusion. Epictetus once said, "Flattery is the disguise of manipulation." The Stoics understood that not all kindness is genuine. True friends speak truth with respect, not with poison hidden behind praise. A manipulator will flatter you only to control you, to keep you seeking their approval, because as long as you're looking for validation, they have power. And the moment you no longer need it, their compliments will turn into criticism. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Claire, started a small business that quickly gained attention. Her co-worker Jenna seemed genuinely happy for her. Every time Claire shared a new milestone, Jenna would say, "That's amazing. I didn't think your idea would actually work." Or, "Wow, people are really buying that. You must be lucky." Claire would laugh it off, but after a while, she noticed the pattern. Every compliment came with a subtle dig, a reminder that her success was unexpected, maybe even undeserved. One day, Claire overheard Jenna telling someone else, "Yeah, she's doing well now, but let's see how long it lasts." That's when it hit her. Jenna wasn't cheering her on. She was waiting for her to fall. So how do you deal with people like that? First, trust the tension you feel. If a compliment leaves you uneasy, it's probably because it wasn't genuine. Second, stop explaining your success to those who disguise envy as humor. You don't owe them validation or clarity. And third, separate noise from truth. Real supporters don't need to sugarcoat their pride in you. They make you feel empowered, not confused. At the end of the day, genuine encouragement uplifts, manipulation drains. The ones who celebrate you sincerely won't remind you of your limits. They'll remind you of your potential. So pay attention to tone, not just words, because sometimes the most dangerous enemies come disguised as admirers. And when someone's praise makes you question your worth instead of strengthening it, that's not friendship, that's deceit. Number 2, they act supportive but vanish when you succeed. Let's talk about one of the most heartbreaking realities in human relationships. Someone is pretending to like you while secretly hoping you fail. These are the people who show up when you're struggling, but disappear the moment you start to rise. They'll offer sympathy when you're down, encouragement when you're stuck, and maybe even a helping hand when you're at your lowest. But the second you start succeeding, when things finally begin to go right, their presence fades. The same people who once cheered you on suddenly have no time, no interest, and no words left for you. Here's the truth. They appear when you struggle, but vanish when you rise, because your success reminds them of their stagnation. Your victories don't inspire them, they expose them. When you were struggling, you made them feel comfortable. You made them feel superior, like they were the strong one, the wise one, the one who had it figured out. But when you start doing well, it threatens the story they tell themselves about being ahead. They can't stand to see you climb higher because it forces them to confront their own lack of growth. So instead of celebrating with you, they distance themselves, pretending they're busy or focused on their own thing, when in reality, your progress has become a mirror they can't bear to look into. And this is where Stoic wisdom brings clarity. Seneca once said, "He who envies others does not obtain peace of mind." Envy is a quiet poison. It eats away at a person's peace, leaving them restless and bitter. When someone envies you, they're not really angry at your success. They're angry at their own inaction. They see in you what they could have become had they chosen discipline over distraction. And instead of learning from your journey, they resent you for being the proof that it's possible. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Ethan, had a friend named Mark who was always around during hard times. When Ethan was struggling to find his footing in his career, Mark was supportive, always checking in, always offering advice. But when Ethan finally landed a major promotion, the one he'd worked years for, something changed. Mark stopped calling. He stopped replying to messages. Weeks turned into months of silence. When they finally met again, Mark couldn't even look Ethan in the eye. Every compliment sounded forced. That's when Ethan realized Mark didn't want him to fail out of cruelty. He wanted him to fail out of comfort. His success had disturbed the balance of their friendship, and instead of growing with him, Mark chose to walk away. So how do you handle people like this? First, accept that not everyone is meant to stay with you as you rise. Some people are attached to the version of you that struggled because that version made them feel secure. Second, stop shrinking your success to keep others comfortable. Your growth will make some people distance themselves, and that's okay. Their absence is not your loss. It's their limitation. And finally, focus on gratitude. Appreciate the ones who celebrate your wins with genuine joy, because those people are rare and real. At the end of the day, remember this: true friends don't fear your growth, they rise with you. The ones who vanish when you succeed were never rooting for your success. They were just waiting to see if you'd stay below them. Let them go and keep climbing, because your light isn't the problem, their insecurity is. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 3. They ask too many questions about your progress. Let's talk about one of the most dangerous forms of hidden envy, someone pretending to like you while secretly hoping you fail. These people don't attack you directly, and they don't show their jealousy openly. Instead, they disguise it as curiosity. They'll ask questions, a lot of questions. How's your new project going? How much did you make from that deal? Who are you working with now? On the surface, it sounds like they care. But if you listen carefully, you'll notice something. Their tone isn't warm, it's analytical. They're not asking because they're happy for you. They're asking because they're measuring your growth, trying to find your weak points, the cracks they can use to reassure themselves that you're not really ahead of them. Here's the truth. They don't ask out of interest. They ask out of insecurity. They want data, not details. They want to know how much you've achieved so they can compare it to their own progress. If they find out you're struggling, they'll quietly celebrate. If they learn you're succeeding, they'll downplay it. Maybe say something like, "Oh, that's nice." But be careful. Things like that don't always last. They'll mask their envy behind advice, concern, or curiosity. But deep down, their questions aren't about understanding your journey. They're about protecting their ego. This is where Stoic wisdom reveals the truth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The envious man looks not with his eyes, but with his wounds." People like this can't see your success clearly because they're looking at it through the lens of their own pain. Your progress doesn't inspire them. It reminds them of everything they haven't done. Your victories reopen the wounds they've been trying to ignore. So instead of facing their own stagnation, they focus on you. They turn your life into their scoreboard. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Julia, had a coworker named Megan who seemed genuinely interested in her career. Every time Julia made progress, Megan would ask dozens of questions. How did you get that client? What's your salary now? Do you think they'll promote you soon? Julia thought Megan was just being supportive until one day she overheard Megan twisting her words in conversation with another colleague. Yeah, Julia's doing fine, but she's getting too full of herself. Honestly, she just got lucky. That's when Julia realized. Megan's questions weren't coming from friendship. They were coming from envy. She wasn't listening to celebrate Julia's progress. She was gathering ammunition to use against her. So, how do you handle people like this? First, protect your progress with silence. Not everyone who asks deserves an answer. Share your goals and victories only with those who genuinely wish you well. Second, learn to read intention behind curiosity. A friend's questions make you feel understood. A rival's questions make you feel exposed. There's a difference. And third, never let their envy distract you from your path. Remember, someone who constantly compares will always find something to resent. That's their burden, not yours. At the end of the day, you don't owe anyone access to your progress. The people who truly support you will celebrate your wins without needing the details. The rest, they're not interested in your journey, only in whether you've passed them on the way. So keep growing, keep moving, and let their curiosity stay unanswered, because sometimes silence is the best boundary against hidden envy. Number 4, they celebrate your setbacks subtly. Let's talk about one of the most dangerous and heartbreaking truths. Someone is pretending to like you while secretly hoping you fail. They'll never say it aloud. They'll never cheer your downfall in public. But if you pay attention, you'll see it. The small smirk when something goes wrong. The faint, "I told you so," hidden behind concern. The forced sympathy that doesn't quite reach their eyes. It's subtle, almost invisible, but it's there. A quiet satisfaction that surfaces when you stumble. Here's the truth. Some people find joy not in your success, but in your setbacks. When you win, they smile politely. When you fall, they breathe a little easier. Your hardship gives them relief. It restores balance in their mind because your rise made them uncomfortable. They won't say they're happy about your pain. They'll just show it in small, calculated ways. A delayed response, a tone that says, "I knew this would happen," or advice that sounds more like mockery than empathy. They'll act supportive, but the sparkle in their eyes when you struggle gives them away. And this is where Stoic wisdom cuts deep. Seneca once said, "The misfortune of the noble is the joy of the envious." Envy is a disease of the soul. It thrives in silence and disguises itself as friendship. When you face challenges, a real friend will help you rise again. But an envious one? They'll use your pain to soothe their own insecurities. Your loss becomes their comfort. Your failure becomes proof that maybe the world is fair again. That maybe they're not as far behind as they thought. Let me share a story. A woman named Natalie once got laid off from her job unexpectedly. She was devastated, but one of her closest friends, Anna, immediately reached out, or so it seemed. "Oh no, that's awful," Anna said, with a voice that sounded sympathetic, but eyes that didn't match. A few days later, Natalie found out Anna had told mutual friends, "Well, that company was too much for her anyway. Maybe it's for the best." Weeks later, when Natalie landed an even better position, Anna's enthusiasm was lukewarm at best. That's when Natalie realized Anna wasn't a friend. She was a quiet competitor, someone who disguised her envy as concern and her relief as sympathy. So how do you deal with people like that? First, stop mistaking politeness for loyalty. Not everyone who comforts you when you're down wants to see you rise again. Second, pay attention to reactions, not words. Real empathy doesn't smirk. It doesn't hide behind subtle digs or faint smiles. And third, protect your emotions. When life gets tough, share your struggles only with those who have proven their sincerity, the ones who feel your pain as if it were their own. At the end of the day, remember this. Real friends don't find satisfaction in your struggles. They find strength in helping you overcome them. The rest? They're just spectators, waiting for the next stumble to remind themselves that they're not falling behind. Let them watch. Because the same people who quietly celebrate your setbacks will one day have to watch you rise higher than ever. And this time, there'll be no smile left to hide behind. If you've watched the video this far, don't forget to leave a comment with a "thank God" and give it a like if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep creating more interesting videos. I hope you find inspiration in them and that we continue learning together. Thank you for your support. Number 5. They downplay your achievements. Let's talk about one of the most subtle yet poisonous behaviors. Someone pretending to like you while secretly hoping you fail. These are the people who never outright insult your success. Instead, they minimize it. When you accomplish something great, they don't congratulate you with joy. They brush it off, saying things like, "You just got lucky," or "It's not that big of a deal." When you work hard for something, they call it overreacting or doing too much. It's their way of stealing your pride without ever appearing cruel. Here's the truth. They call your victories luck and your effort excess, because your success threatens their comfort. They can't stand the idea that you've earned what they haven't. So instead of admitting that you worked harder, took risks, or stayed disciplined, they label it luck, something random, something undeserved. It's easier for them to tell themselves that you stumbled into success than to face the reality that you built it. And when you show genuine excitement for your achievements, they'll roll their eyes, smirk, or say something dismissive to dull your shine. Because if they can make you doubt your success, they get to feel safe in their mediocrity. This is where Stoic wisdom brings perspective. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not let the applause or insults of others define your worth." The Stoics believed that external opinions, whether praise or criticism, are just noise. What truly matters is your own perception of your effort, your discipline, and your purpose. The moment you allow someone's downplaying to affect your confidence, you give them control over your peace. Their dismissal doesn't diminish your success. It exposes their insecurity. Let me share a story. A man named Alex worked tirelessly for years to get a promotion. He sacrificed weekends, stayed late, and constantly pushed himself to improve. When he finally got it, his co-worker, Jake, who always acted friendly, smiled and said, "Wow, man, guess you were in the right place at the right time." On the surface, it sounded harmless. But Alex knew what that really meant. Jake couldn't admit that effort pays off. Later, whenever Alex discussed a project or idea, Jake would interrupt with sarcasm or mock praise like, "All right, Mr. Big Promotion." It wasn't humor. It was envy disguised as banter. Over time, Alex realized something profound. Some people don't hate your success. They just hate that it reminds them of what they're not doing. So how do you deal with people who downplay your achievements? First, stop seeking validation from those who refuse to give it. Their silence or sarcasm isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a mirror of their insecurity. Second, celebrate yourself unapologetically. You earned your victories through persistence, not permission. And third, protect your energy. You don't have to dim your light to keep others comfortable. The right people will never feel threatened by your shine. They'll reflect it back with pride. At the end of the day, remember this: humility doesn't mean shrinking. It means standing tall without arrogance. You can be proud of your progress without boasting, and you can acknowledge your success without guilt. Those who truly respect you will clap when you win, not cringe. And those who can't handle your achievements, let them call it luck, because deep down they know what they call luck is really your discipline they couldn't match. Number 6, they offer advice that holds you back. Let's talk about one of the most dangerous and deceptive forms of manipulation. Someone pretending to like you while secretly hoping you fail. These are the ones who don't attack you directly, who don't criticize you openly. Instead, they wear the mask of wisdom. They'll say things that sound supportive, thoughtful, even caring. But underneath, their words are meant to slow you down. Their advice isn't given to help you rise, it's given to make sure you don't rise too far. Here's the truth: their suggestions sound helpful, but are meant to hold you back. They'll say things like, "Are you sure you're ready for that?" Or, "Don't rush, maybe wait until you're more experienced." On the surface, it sounds reasonable, cautious, even mature. But what they're really saying is, stay where you are. Don't move too fast. Don't outgrow me. Their goal is to make you second-guess yourself, to plant seeds of doubt so you hesitate at the edge of opportunity. Because every time you take a leap, it reminds them of the chances they never took. And this is where Stoic wisdom cuts through their disguise. Seneca once said, "Beware the friend whose advice benefits himself." The Stoics understood that not all advice comes from a place of love. Sometimes it comes from fear, jealousy, or control. Real wisdom empowers you. False wisdom restricts you. So ask yourself, does their advice make you feel capable, or does it make you feel small? Because that feeling is the truth talking. Let me share a story. A woman named Rachel once told me about a colleague, Emma, who always offered her advice. Friendly advice, as she called it. When Rachel was considering applying for a promotion, Emma said, "Maybe wait another year. You don't want to seem too ambitious." When Rachel thought about starting her own business, Emma told her, "That's risky. Most people fail. You should stay where it's safe." For months, Rachel listened. She thought Emma was being protective. But then one day, Rachel realized something. Emma had applied for the same promotion she told her to avoid. The same safe friend who warned her against risk was quietly taking the very risks herself. That's when it became clear. Emma's advice was never meant to help her grow. It was meant to keep her in place. So how do you deal with people like this? First, test the motive behind the message. Ask yourself, who benefits if I take this advice? If the answer isn't you, walk away. Second, listen to your intuition. Your gut often knows when something's off, when someone's wisdom is laced with subtle sabotage. And third, stop seeking approval from those who secretly compete with you. The moment you stop looking to them for guidance, you remove the power they hold over your confidence. At the end of the day, real advice gives you courage. False advice gives you fear. A true friend will challenge you, yes, but their words will always push you forward, not hold you down. The rest will call their manipulation honesty, their insecurity concern, and their control care. But you'll know better, because when advice becomes a cage, the wisest thing you can do is walk away from it. Number 7. They pretend to care, but never defend you. Let's talk about one of the most painful and revealing truths. Someone pretending to like you while secretly hoping you fail. These are the ones who smile when they're with you, laugh at your jokes, and act like they're on your side. But when you're not around, when someone insults you, disrespects you, or spreads lies about you, they stay silent. They don't step in. They don't speak up. They let your name be dragged through the mud because defending you would cost them something: comfort, popularity, or connection. And that silence, that lack of defense, is where their true loyalty shows. Here's the truth. They'll act like they care to your face, but their silence in your absence is their confession. People reveal their loyalty not when life is easy, but when standing by you is inconvenient. The ones who only stand beside you when it's safe aren't friends, they're spectators. They enjoy your company as long as it benefits them. But when things get uncomfortable, they quietly step aside and watch from a distance. Their fake concern, their polite sympathy, their "I wish I could have done something," all of it is just guilt wearing a disguise. Because deep down, they know that in the moment you needed them most, they chose themselves. And this is where Stoic wisdom cuts deep. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The tongue of a traitor is sharper than any dagger." The Stoics understood that betrayal doesn't always come through words. Sometimes it comes through silence. You don't have to say something cruel to wound someone. You just have to say nothing when it matters most. A friend who watches injustice and stays quiet is no different from the one committing it. Their silence is participation, their neutrality a choice. Let me share a story. A man named Daniel once worked in an office where his colleague Luke always acted like a friend. They'd have lunch together, joke around, and even share personal stories. But one day, Daniel was unfairly blamed for a mistake on a project, something Luke knew wasn't his fault. During the meeting, when Daniel was being criticized, Luke stayed silent. He didn't speak up, didn't correct the lie, didn't defend the truth. Later, when Daniel confronted him, Luke just shrugged and said, "I didn't want to get involved." That's when Daniel realized Luke wasn't neutral. He was comfortable with Daniel taking the fall as long as it kept him safe. That's not friendship. That's betrayal wearing a calm face. So, how do you handle people like that? First, believe actions over words. Someone who truly cares won't need to tell you. You'll see it in how they show up when you're not in the room. Second, stop confusing politeness with loyalty. There's a difference between people who like you and people who will stand up for you. And third, remember that silence speaks volumes. When someone chooses not to defend you, they've already told you where you stand in their life. At the end of the day, real loyalty doesn't need witnesses. It needs courage. The ones who defend your name when you're not there are the ones who truly care. The rest, they only pretend to. Because liking you when it's easy doesn't make someone a friend. It's defending you when it's risky that reveals who they really are. And when someone's silence cuts deeper than any insult, remember this: their inaction is the loudest truth you'll ever hear. If you believe this video can help others, give it a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show it to more people. And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content coming your way. Share your thoughts in the comments. I will definitely reply.